So, welcome to the Women Entrepreneurship series, where we are going to talk about inspirational stories of very successful and courageous women entrepreneurs. So, today I have Sukhi with me, who has a very inspirational story of how she started. So, first of all, thank you, Sukhi, for joining us.
Likewise, Nikhil. Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure hosting you. And I think, we've seen, last 2 years, entrepreneurship taking a very faster velocity because people have gone online, the power of digitization has come in. But as it relates to women entrepreneurs, right, I think there's a huge opportunity. And I believe, 2022 is going to be almost an inflection point where we'll see a lot of women entrepreneurs who are perhaps sitting, on the fence because of the uncertainty of pandemic, now really taking the leap because everybody's realized, right, the time is short. You need to do and you need to take your chances. So let me start with asking you your journey as to how did your entrepreneurship journey start, because it's always a difficult decision when you're in a professional world, or maybe you have a career in a large company and so on.
Yeah, so my career was like really convoluted, and I definitely didn't plan it. So it's kind of like accidental, but happy accidents. But I think, my heritage is Punjabi. My parents were immigrants into this country, and growing up, it was like, a mix of cultures. So I was really inspired by entrepreneurs I'd see on TV. And I remember telling my mom that I wanted to be an astronaut. And I was about 7 years old at that point. And I think she said to me, "Oh, who's going to look after your children if you're in space?" And I was just like, oh my God. And I think that was a moment where I started to see like the maybe potential challenges that maybe women could face when they want to start their own businesses. So I had this like harboring dream of wanting to have my own business, but I sort of like pushed it down because I didn't think it was what was really expected of me. And growing up, I was sort of, whenever I mentioned, after I wanted to be an astronaut, I moved on. I wanted to be a helicopter pilot. Then after that, I said, I want to be a doctor. And every time it was like, oh, it's too many long hours. Who's going to look after your children? Then I'd have to remind my mom, there are no children in this scenario. I just want to follow my dreams. And then I was just reading loads of books about entrepreneurs. I've always been really inspired by people like Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos, and even like the local woman around the corner who opened her first hairdressing salon. And I used to just watch her, and she was Asian. And I used to think, oh wow, if she can do it, so can I. And so I did what I think a lot of people do is I went to college, I went to university, and I sort of swallowed my dreams and I just followed the status quo. And I did what was largely expected of me. I got a really great job in the City of London, which I'm super grateful for. I was making a very, very good income, earning more than, my family had ever earned before. And yet, when I went to work, I just had this sensation in my soul that this was really not the place for me. I really wanted to do something a little bit more meaningful and different. And so that's when I think my entrepreneurial journey started. So I was tinkering around with many different business ideas during my lunch breaks and during the weekends, and like 99% of those ideas failed. So I really want your listeners to understand that sometimes when you do see someone who you think is successful, just don't forget that there are many hurdles that they've had to overcome along the journey. But that in itself is just as important as that award or the accolade, because that's what you needed to go through to get to where you are today. So I was tinkering around with many ideas, but it took me 13 long years to finally get the courage to actually give in my resignation notice. And I had dreamt of it for so long, and I wanted it to be like really dramatic, like I'm walking out of the office and chairs and tables are going around everywhere and Sukhi's finally resigned. But that happened in my head. The reality was I just very quietly told my...
New age was manifesting, right?
Yeah. That stuff was just happening in my head. And then finally, I just made the decision that if I wanted to really give my dreams a shot, I had to make a decision. And, the very word decision comes from dividing. You either go this way or you go that way. So I had just been tinkering around with a lot of ideas, and one of my burning dreams or desires on my heart was I've always wanted to write a book and be an author. And so I started to write the draft of it whilst I was actually in the day job, and I was writing drafts during my lunch breaks. And within 6 months, I had got my first draft ready, and I said to myself, okay, it's now or never. So I gave in my resignation and I decided to go full time and pursue my entrepreneurial dreams, which was almost 6 years ago. And I just want to reiterate as well that 6 years ago, what I had planned, it didn't turn out that way at all. And it's okay, because that's life. And I spent like a year or so just like writing my book and getting it published. And I thought I really wanted to be the next J.K. Rowling. But there's a huge difference between loving to read and actually writing multiple books. And writing that first book almost killed me. And I said, I don't think I'm ever going to write another book again. But within the year, I think I had another 2 books out that I'd co-authored. So it was... Yeah, so the book I first wrote was called Escape the Cubicle, Quit the Job You Hate, Create a Life You Love. So that book is actually about my journey of how I left the corporate world and started to move into the entrepreneurial world, and how I started to make that transition. And I wrote that book really for myself because I was feeling a bit lost, I think, in life. I was feeling a bit disengaged with my job. And around that time, actually, I had just lost my dad. And then a month later, my grandma, who I was very close to, I lost her. And then a month later, I had another bereavement in the family. So within 3 short months, 3 very important people, I would say probably like pillars of my life, they passed away really unexpectedly. And I think, to be honest, that was the trigger that said to me, Sukhi, you don't have time to waste. And you've been blessed with an opportunity where you can leave the day job and just try to pursue your dreams. And on the other side of pursuing your dreams, you know, you might fail, but on the other side of failure is experimentation and finding new challenges. And I think life literally is too short to be too worried about failing, and just you should focus really more on pursuing that desire in your heart, because all of us, I believe, have something really special to give. And it takes time to uncover all the layers of expectations and societal expectations. And it's actually a really courageous and brave step for someone to actually follow their dreams. And I'm also not under the illusion that following your dreams is actually a privileged position to be in as well. When my parents came to this country, they were immigrants, and their philosophy in life was very much about survivalship. They didn't have the opportunity to really follow their dreams. They just had to put food on the table, do multiple jobs, and raise their children. So I'm in a very fortunate position where I don't have to worry about survival, and I can actually give my dreams a shot. And so, I wrote that book, Escape the Cubicle. And then the other 2 books, actually, again, I just didn't think I would ever write books in those topics, but I became very interested in technology, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, Web3, metaverse, all this stuff. And I was asked to co-author a white paper on how authors and creative entrepreneurs could actually use blockchain technology and monetize their business models. So that came about quite unexpectedly, but that was really great. And then that led to me being the first author in the world to publish a book using blockchain technology, which was, thank you. So that was another really exciting journey and learning step. And then after that, I was invited to co-author a chapter in a book called The FinTech Book. And this was like 5 years ago when the word fintech was still relatively new. And now most banks are trying to and now most banks are trying to implement those types of technologies within the bank. And then I've just had a really varied path from being an author. I tried to do life coaching for a little while and then gave it up when I had my first client, because he literally wouldn't stop complaining about his life. And I was like, oh my God, you've actually got to change in order for your life to change. So I said, okay, that's probably not for me. But that was a great experience because now I use those skills to mentor other entrepreneurs, and I've mentored hundreds of female entrepreneurs as well as other entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds. So it's all about just learning and sharing and giving back. And then that led me to starting Market Orders, which is what I'm doing now. So I work on that full time.
How did it come about? Like what between you writing books and obviously very different topics, right? From kind of leaving a corporate job to blockchain, Web 3.0, and jewelry, right? I mean, so how did that? Yeah.
So this is the wonderful thing about life, right? Sometimes you can't connect all the dots.
You don't need to connect the dots.
Yeah.
How the dot emerged.
Yeah, so a lot of people think I have a passion for jewelry, and the irony is I don't wear much jewelry. But how it came about was I met my co-founder a few years ago when I was in the early stages of my entrepreneurial career, and it was him who was actually already in this industry. And he was operating as a wholesaler, and he was purchasing 22, 24 carat and gold and diamond jewelry from international suppliers such as Singapore and Dubai, and then bringing it into the UK and then distributing it to retail shops. And he asked if I could just help out on the side. So I was helping out with project management, and I was doing a bit of the admin and some of the accounting. And I noticed that whenever orders would come through, he would give them to me on scraps of paper. And I was like, this is really inefficient and it's really annoying, because sometimes some orders would get missed because that scrap of paper didn't find its way to me. So I just started creating a rudimentary spreadsheet and just started to put some processes into place. And slowly we just started to find a better way of doing business. And we just started to think about how could digital processes and technology be used to bring a really old traditional way of doing business into the 21st century. So much of the business was being done in person, face to face, things were being done, cash in hand. And one of the reasons for that is because this industry is really traditional, and you're dealing with really high value products. So people want to do business with people they know and trust. And most of the time that's established in person. So we decided to bring that industry into the 21st century by creating an online marketplace. And that's how sort of the transition came about. And that's how I decided to work here full time and co-found this company with my co-founder. So that was like the story behind it.
And, with I think multiple, I would say even authorship is an entrepreneurial journey. Do you now think about a fourth book?
Yeah, Nikhil, my brain is buzzing with a million different ideas. So I've got ideas about writing things about the metaverse and the use of technology, but I'm also really passionate about helping people live more purposeful and meaningful lives, because that's what's really important to me. And I feel that having a business or being an author is just one facet of who you are. And what is more important is bringing your entire being to what it is you love and do.
Back to the life coach kind of stuff.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. It's about looking at your life holistically and succeeding on all areas of your life. So yeah, I have ideas for loads of books, and actually I'm going to be launching a blog soon talking about business and stuff like that. So yeah, I do love writing. It's one of my passions. So yeah, keep a lookout.
Work. I wrote an ebook during the first lockdown, and it was a lot of hard work. So I admire, writing three books, because it takes a lot to. I think it takes a lot because you have to isolate yourself. You have to be focused on the topic and continuity of each chapter, and just a lot of. That's why some people go to the mountains and say, I'm going to 3 months and I'm just gonna complete my book or so on.
Absolutely. If you want to be isolated, just tell people you're writing a book. They'll leave you alone.
Yes, that's true. It was easy during the COVID anyway. Nobody wants to see you. So your jewelry business, where do you see the use of technology, or maybe digitization, right? Just how has that, since you anyway so well versed with technology that you've written books, How has that played a part in your thinking of making the commercial venture, successful, reaching out to more customers, and really, driving more engagement from the customers who purchase products from you?
Yeah, so that's a really great question, Nikhil. And I do think that how much we can progress is sometimes limited or enhanced by the technologies available. So if you go back 10 years, people were not sharing photographs because it was not easy to take a photograph on your phone. The iPhone revolutionized the way people were engaging in technologies, and that particular technology opened up loads of other doors and even job opportunities. Like 10 years ago, there was no such thing as a social media manager, and now everyone knows what it is. Right. So I think it's the same with technology, even in our industry. I think what we are seeing is a lot of people are going online, but people want that customized experience. They want something that's personalized. The use of AI and machine learning almost takes out the hard work of making a decision. So I know that every time I open up my Netflix account, like 5 minutes after scrolling, I switch it off and just put like the TV on because I'm overwhelmed with the amount of choice available. And sometimes I just want someone to just like make a choice, right? So I think with the jewelry trade industry, it's really fragmented at the moment. And what is needed is a centralized source where retailers and suppliers can go and do business in a really trusted environment, but also know that they're getting the best deals. And they're also getting that help and support in order to run their businesses in a more efficient manner. So just recently, I came across the co-founder of this marketplace he's actually digitizing the seafood industry. He's helping suppliers and the people who fish, the farmers, fish farmers, fishermen, helping them sell their fish quicker to the end customers. And the inefficiencies in that industry are usually because it takes time for the fish. As soon as it leaves the water, it's already like decaying. How do you get it to your customers, to the restaurants, to the markets in the best way possible? And how does the fisherman know he's getting the best deal? And that transaction is also happening very much offline. So I feel those B2B industries that have traditionally been very face-to-face, one-to-one interactions, technologies will allow them to do interactions between one and many. And technology will allow that sort of greater aggregation of people coming together, but also more efficient ways of doing business. And I think we've already seen a lot of disruption with B2C markets. Right. There's so many tools like Shopify. Anyone can now set up an online store within a day, which is just so incredible. It really, really excites me. I just want everyone to like be an entrepreneur and set up a store. But I think that the B2B industry is maybe lagging behind a little bit, maybe because we are quite ingrained within the supply chain as well. And we have multiple suppliers and distributors that we're dealing with. So how do you bring all those together in alignment, speaking the same language and using similar tools? So yeah, I think it's exciting.
And with GoDaddy, you can do it in 1 hour.
Oh, well, I have not been paid to say this, but I have been using GoDaddy for many years, and we do use your products and services. And I've been really happy with the products, and actually I'd probably say your customer service for me to date has been really super. So yeah, I'm a happy customer.
Yeah, we take pride in providing humanity behind technology, because obviously tech is just getting started, but as your business is growing and your needs are growing, you constantly need to like up level your website and all the content. So your focus now, I think, right? I mean, it's an interesting question I want to ask, right? You have multiple things going on, right? And so you wake up in the morning and you say, okay, today is an author day, today is a jewelry day, or today is maybe perhaps the proxy life coach day, right? I mean, how do you go about that, right? Or do you take weeks? Do you take days? Do you like, okay, I'm going to just focus right now on this thing today?
Such a good question, Nikhil. Yeah. So I am very well used to being burnt out and overwhelmed on multiple occasions. And because of that, I like to run my life using systems and processes. And that's the irony, actually, when I left the corporate day job, I left it because I said, oh, it's so repetitive. There's so much routine. I want to do something different. And then when I started to work for myself, I actually discovered how important it is to actually have structure and routine and systems around your work, especially if you actually want to get stuff done. So I'm still very much a work in progress, Nikhil. So, yeah. So I do have certain things I do to help me to really stay focused and prioritize. I don't get it right all the time, but if I can hit it right 80% of the time, I'm happy. I always start my day with certain things that I do. So I'll meditate. I have certain affirmations I read just to sort of, do the mental hygiene. I also read for about 15 minutes every day. I'll just pick up a random book or any book that's interesting me. And then I'll do a bit of journaling, and that helps me to kind of do a bit of a brain vomit, because we're always worried about stuff, or there's like, like a computer, there's background systems running in your head all the time. So that journaling just allows me to actually get myself together and ask myself, what is it that I need to do today? But how do I decide what I'm doing today? A week ago, I usually sort of very briefly, I have a goal of what I want to achieve during that week. And every week can be different. So like you said, I might be focusing on market orders because there's certain things I really need to get done this week. And maybe next week, I am actually focusing on finances and putting my blog together. So I know that's the gist of what I'm going to do. And then what I also love doing is I'll make a huge list of all the activities I have to do. Then the night before, on a post-it note, I'll pick the 3 most important tasks and I literally stick it on my laptop screen. And then those are the only things I will work on that day.
In the morning, the day starts, you know.
Yeah.
What success is for that day.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll always do a gym workout before midday. So after midday, I can just focus on business and work and meetings and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a bit of a structure to the madness, or bringing order to the chaos.
Yeah, no, I think, the madness is needed to create and really push yourself. And then the structure, I think, is a necessary, I wouldn't call it evil, but it is a necessary asset we all need to kind of, make to slow us down, right? Because sometimes we can get ahead of ourselves too much. Absolutely. Yeah. So what's next for the next 6 months for your jewelry business? If you think about where you see market trends going on, obviously the use of online presence has increased. So there's a lot of people who've come up and become experts, whether they're experts or not, but at least the barriers to entry are pretty low, right? I could go tomorrow and become an expert in your business, and there's no authentication or validation the customers can see until they buy, and then they have a good or bad experience, right? How do you see next 6 months? Because it's a crowded space now.
So yeah, there is huge amounts of competition, but I think what will set you apart is how you're serving your customer and are you giving them what they want? And again, as I was saying before, there are loads of tools and systems already available. Technology makes it really easy to set up a blog or set up a website, and you can get going. But I think what you really have to focus on is what's the value you're really providing to your customer, and why should they use you and come back to you? So for us at Market Orders, we're now actually focusing on redesigning our marketplace. We are onboarding new suppliers and new customers, and we're also looking at how we can make it much easier for our customers who are retailers to actually purchase the stock from us using credit and financing options. Because if they have financing in place, then they can do business with us. And our business operates with huge time lags of when the money actually hits your bank account. And as you'll know, cash is king when you're running a business. So we're really excited. We've got new marketplace being launched. I will be on the phone to GoDaddy to help me set up some things. Brilliant. So yeah, and there's going to be a few more product launches. So an exciting 6 months coming, and we're hoping either towards the end of this year or January 2023, we will be able to do a really good launch and really keep serving our industry.
Great. So thank you so much for, sharing. There are a lot of facets of your journey line, right? From a kind of a job to authorship to life coaching to the jewelry business, and so I think a lot of good lessons for our folks who are going to watch it, because I think you hit upon the most powerful thing I feel about was failure, and just take shots at things you want to do and don't worry about the outcome, because most likely they're going to be wrong, but sometimes you have to be wrong to figure out what you want things to be right. And I think it's very important to sometimes do things and realize, I don't want to do this, but this is what I want to do.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a little funny joke that says most people's CVs are a collection of jobs they've never enjoyed. Yeah. That's why they left it, right? So yeah, just like you said, I really strongly believe now, especially maybe with age and wisdom, that there is no such thing as failure. It's just trying things out and getting feedback, and then just stumbling forward and just trying again and again. So thank you so much for your time. I'm really grateful.
Thank you so much. All right.